Hi, I'm Hannah and this is Becca.
Hannah, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the best and worst investments I made when opening the studio.
So I feel like we should just rip the Band-Aid off and go straight into the bad first, starting with buying too much stuff.
Yeah, so at the beginning, I saw how big the space was and I was thinking I need to buy all of this stuff to fill it. And so one of those things was I bought 2 dining room tables, dining room accessories, and chairs. And the reason that I bought those is because we wanted to show everyone at our open house how you could use the space and decorate using the stuff we already had. In reality, nobody really needed those things that we bought right away and we could have done without them.
The planters.
Yes, the planters. I had this vision that our patio would be used throughout the summer for events and stuff like that, and I really wanted a barrier between the road that we're on and the patio to help with sound and just the view of all the cars driving by. And so these planters are massive, and what I didn't realize was how much soil it was actually going to take and the cost of flowers to keep those planters full year round. And inevitably we ended up just turning them into benches. And because right now we just couldn't afford the cost to keep the flowers in there all year round.
The furniture that you bought at the very beginning, some of it was not very sturdy.
Yeah, so my thought process behind having lightweight furniture is that since this was a space that we wanted to be versatile, we knew not everyone would use everything we had when we'd be here. So if I had a big heavy duty couch, it would be really hard for somebody to move that. Especially with photographers, it's kind of awkward to ask the people you're photographing to help you move furniture. So we wanted things that were lightweight, that could just slide across the floor or be able to be picked up by just one person. So unfortunately, because we bought those,
they weren't real wood. They were just a little bit cheaply made. So they broke within a month of us opening.
Yeah, and they still cost quite a bit just because furniture in general just costs a lot, whether it's made of real wood or not. And so we had to take some of those things out and replace them, unfortunately. But the best things that have been used the most have just been the singular chairs and then some of the love seats that have withheld the amount of traffic that has come in and out of the studio.
Yeah. Okay, so between a good and bad investment was our styling blocks.
The reason that it was a bad investment at the beginning was because we had these custom made, and of course I didn't measure. And I just assumed I knew how big they were going to be. And so whenever he was finished with them, he said, "These are quite large. Are you going to be okay with that?" We were like, "Oh, it'll be fine." Okay. Because we were thinking, okay, we're having people sit on them, stand on them. They need to be big and sturdy. He brought them and it was double the size of this. Huge. I mean, I couldn't even barely turn it over. I was like, okay, this is not good. So we ended up having to have them cut down, redone, which ended up being a really good thing because a lot of people use these and we use these a lot, so.
Yeah, there's no way we would have been able to get the original styling blocks up the stairs. They were just, maybe if we had a pulley system or something, but they were huge. They were so big. But these are perfect. They get used all the time.
Yeah.
So now that we're done with the bad stuff, let's go on to the good stuff.
These are the best investments I made when opening the studio.
So first, our branding and merch designs, as well as our sign on the building.
Yeah, so most importantly, we wanted to make sure we had a good visible sign from the street, since there's quite a bit of traffic that comes down where we're located. And I wanted an illuminated sign just because our name is Lightbox, so why not? And so you can see it at night. It also is those boxed marquee letters. And so it really grabs your attention, and that was quite an investment, but it was worth it because the amount of people who have told us that they just drove by, saw the sign, and Googled what we were, it has like really helped us as far as exposure to the studio.
Yeah, our building has been on C Street for over 100 years, so a lot of people have always been curious. They've come in and say, I've always wondered what that building is. So
yeah, so we have like the history side of it, and then being able to explain to them what we are now.
Next, we have some tables down in the Edison that at the start were
one of the
really big.
They weren't a bad investment,
No,
but
they were good, but
they just took up so much space.
yeah, they were really long. They were hard to move. So what do we do?
We had them cut down by a local woodworker, and he cut them into 6 different tables for us, added new legs to those. Now we can carry them upstairs, or we can store them if people don't want to use them while they're using that space.
It's just given us a lot more options as far as what we can do with them. Instead of just having them stuck in that one room, we have one upstairs, we have one in our lobby, and then we have 4 in the original room in the Edison. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, next, some of our investments that we made for the prop closet and the items in the loft, like the rose ottoman or the seamless backdrops, those have been great.
Yeah, and we originally had the seamless backdrops and the prop closet as add-ons when we first opened. So you could rent the studio, but then if you added on those items, you could use them. But maybe, I don't know, it was like a few months ago, we just decided to add everything in, so that way you had one rental, you knew you could just, anything that you saw, you could use. And that has really worked out great. A lot of the photographers have come in, used the seamless backdrops, and it has been really cool to see how creative they can get using the things that we have to offer.
Yeah, it really transforms the space, because the loft as it is kind of a blank slate. So there's a lot of options to completely change the space and make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have to talk about this window that we added.
Yes, this window we added before we opened the studio, and I knew that if we were going to be in this space, there had to be a window that was added here, because we knew that this would be the most used area of the studio. And so although that was costly, it was must needed, and thank goodness, because this area would have been very dark without it.
It's awesome.
And being that we're a natural light studio, we wanted to ensure that we could have as much natural light as possible. So adding that has really helped.
We also added white floors, and
which helps bounce the light onto people's faces whenever the sun comes through and hits the floors. So the last thing is the employees. I am a firm believer that the people who are working here really make a difference. So I have visited other studios out of town, and none of them had an employee on site, which honestly made it kind of difficult for me to understand what I was able to use, what I wasn't able to use. And I think the biggest thing is, like, I want to point that we're here to help.
Yeah.
If anyone needs help with anything, and if you're unfamiliar with the setting up a backdrop, we're always here to help with that. And if you wanted to add time, you don't have to go through and email us, like we're already here on site.
Or call anybody.
Yeah.
And just like, I think that people just feel more secure and safe, and like they know where light switches are if they need them. They know where they have someone to tell them where anything that they need is. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times on the weekends we have back-to-back sessions, and with an employee on site, we can come and clean before the next session. So it's comforting to know that you're gonna walk into a clean studio.
Yeah, and just kind of manage the turnover, so we don't have to worry about anybody
overlapping or awkwardly walking into somebody else's studio time.
Yeah.
The other thing with having employees on site is it's really been the way that we've been able to connect with all the other photographers who come to use this space. We've made real friendships just with being here and meeting people in person, and it's been really great to actually meet people in person that we know on Instagram or other social media, but are now seeing in person. So
yeah,
it's been really great.
I feel like before Lightbox was around, I didn't know very many photographers, only a small handful, so I've gotten to meet a lot of people, and I feel like our community is more tightly knit now. So
if you're planning on opening a studio, just remember that less is more. You don't necessarily need a lot of items to fill your space before you open.
yeah, it'll be so much easier to kind of start with the basics that you know you need, and then add things as you see that you need them for your individual space.
It's so much harder to resell the items that you don't need than if you were to just wait, see what people have requested over and over again, and then add. If you're in the Springfield, Missouri area, we hope that you come to the studio soon because we'd love to see you.